Hi, I'm Dave Klein. I'm here today to talk about security posture validation essentials, ways that we could defend against threat actors and enterprise drift. So let's talk about today and what has led to posture security validation. Number one, threat actors are only getting stronger. We're seeing new TTPs and IOCs daily. They're very good at taking vulnerabilities and quickly making exploits out of them, sometimes within hours of an announcement of a new vulnerability. There's a whole underworld ecosystem of vendors and suppliers and affiliates that work together to be more efficient in what they do and more effective. And we've seen, especially in 2020 and 2021, whole new attack types appear, supply chain attacks and ransomware. And on top of the threat actors, what we've also seen is a real acceleration in security drift and enterprises. What we're talking about here, between the complex architectures that we have, the fact we now have a DevOps cloud model, which allows us to adopt and accelerate innovation so quickly. With a few keystrokes in Chef, Puppet, Ansible, Jenkins, you could push out whole environments, thousands of machines, including misconfigurations. We are tied into our partners' networks, vendors' networks, our customers, software as a service. We're all interconnected. And often the weakest link is not us, but maybe a partner. And again, with all these changes, misconfigurations occur faster and faster. And looking at legacy methods for posture security validation, what we find is, from a business perspective, they felt there was no visibility in the past ways we've done things. Limited metrics, really no way to prove value, and everything seems to be assumption-based. We spend millions of dollars in cybersecurity, but really can't get the value out of it, nor show distinctly, empirically, that we're safe. And it's in the past, the methods were resource intensive and with no valid return on investment. From a technical side, the real thing in the past that was a real problem was you needed a really high skill set to be successful. And as you know, resources in cybersecurity, we have a deficit, and a lot of people are just beginning. So the idea is you need to be, it really wasn't tenable for most people. On top of that, often these rote manual ways of doing things required coding, QA, and change control windows, consulting services, months to set up. And yet we're missing critical steps in the cyber kill chain. Would only be able to be run in a lab and provided no really new intelligence when new TTPs and indicators of compromise came out. And finally, no good executive summary nor prescriptive results. And these are all the problems of the ways we did things in the past. And the result of this, you see all the red stuff at the top, the minute we had a pen test, which was very manual and rote, you'd have that flashlight giving you visibility. But then the cloud would reappear. And I'm not talking about the cloud architecture, I'm talking about cloud of uncertainty. New images be rolled out and there'd be misconfigurations, new third-party vendors in the environment with vulnerabilities, new ransomware techniques, new Microsoft vulnerabilities, cloud misconfiguration. So the idea is you were only good for that one point in time. It wasn't really continuous. And so the goal of modern continuous security posture validation is to give you data-driven cybersecurity solutions, creating a baseline that you could trend over time that has no blind spots, right? So the idea is as you go along and you see all these issues that occur in the wild, you can fix them, right? And you can see the baseline of your posture security validation, if things go up and what caused it and how to bring it back down. And that's the key thing to be successful. And in order to do this, we're now going to talk about what requirements you need to make this successful. And the key here is, if done correctly, business can visualize, measure, and explain risk. We can evaluate, optimize cybersecurity investment. We can validate immunity against the latest threats. We can recover gracefully if we're hit. From a technical side, we optimize our security controls. We have better utilization of existing teams with no need for professional services, right? It can be run continuous and safely and comprehensively with quick deployments, immediate results, and prescriptive technical and executive reporting. And now let's go through the various things you need in a solution to be successful. For one, you need a single comprehensive validation platform. In the past, you've had things like breach attack simulation, continuous automated red teaming, purple teaming, attack surface management, and attack-based vulnerability management. The problem is this needs to be brought under one umbrella so that everyone could work together, could communicate and be on the same page, and everyone gets that trending baseline and trending data. And the key here also is it needs to be comprehensive across the entire kill chain. We talked about some legacy methods didn't have this. The idea here is it really starts with reconnaissance and phishing campaigns. The idea of being able to look into the dark net and see where your information has already been leaked, username, passwords, things like that. Be able to run phishing campaigns to see how your users respond to phishing attacks. And then you get into the various phases of email gateway, web application firewall, all the way through the endpoint, data exfiltration, and stuff like that. So the idea is you need to be able to work across the entire kill chain to be successful with no blind spots. On top of that, you need fast and easy deployment, right? Software as a service is the way to do this. This is the prescribed model that most people, best practices use today. You want to only have something like a single agent per environment. You don't want to be agent intensive. You don't want the excuse to be of not implementing is, oh, not another agent across the entire environment. So it's a single agent per environment. Implementation take less than an hour, unlike the months and weeks that we've seen in the past. It should be production environment safe because no one has a lab environment that simulates a production environment. You can simulate attacks, you can't simulate your production environment. So that's people who run safely in that environment. No usage of heavy professional services or proprietary images in lab environments, right? Again, you want to be in production. And we talked about the shortage in cybersecurity staff. Therefore, whatever you choose must be able to be run at all cyber maturity levels. So for a novice, they can learn as they go. It includes the MITRE ATT&CK framework, so they're able to understand and operationalize what they're looking at with prescriptive explanations and remediation advice. For the experienced staff, they can automate and delegate mundane portions, right? They can focus on the more important things for them. Use REST API set and enable security teams both simple and complex scenarios from pre-built resources and custom binaries and executions. Another thing needs to be is intelligent, updated, automated, and opportunistic. What do I mean by this? Well, number one, we talked about TTPs and IOCs changing daily. So the idea is it should be updated 24/7, 365. When new attacks appear in the wild, you should be able to have that stuff incorporated by the vendor so you can test immediately. It should be that when the CIO or the CEO comes, hey, the board says our competitors were hit by ransomware. Are we also vulnerable to that? You used to say, you know what? I've checked the reporting. It's already been updated. And you know what? We're fine. Or there's these security controls that need to change to be fine, right? So the idea is you shouldn't have to research yourself the new indicators of compromise and TTPs and manually code them and stuff like that. You need to be able to run them immediately, right? On top of that, one thing we found in the past is a lot of times there are a lot of individual scripts and tests. That's not what hackers do. You need to be able to chain opportunistic testing. The idea is as you go through, and as you see an example on the screen, we're using SMB pass the hash. So let's say you're going through and you hit a roadblock, right? The main user accounts fail. Let me try local users and see if I get through. I got through. Let me continue. So the idea is it needs to be opportunistic and automated, but yet chained to be able to go through as a real attacker would. It needs to be integrated into your third-party security controls. The idea is you want to know if your EDR, XDR, SIEM, SOAR, VM, and more can see these attacks as they occur, right? And exercise the SOC team to see, and purple teaming exercises, how they're working, and if you're not getting alerted or you're not getting success, right? So they need to be integrated into third-party controls. When you do all this, you have efficacy that your security controls are working and efficacy of your security spend. A great use case, because our company Cymulate does this kind of solution, we have Nemours child health systems. So Jim at the company was looking to shore up gaps and misconfigurations in their environment. And with COVID, everyone was working from home. So they were worried about what that would do. So using us, they were able to better optimize their security controls and found that in one case, one policy change saved them from 168 different exploits being run on their endpoints. On top of that, and their servers. On top of that, they were able to, for the first time, incorporate a purple teaming exercise to say, what is the impact of working from home? And we're going to try different ways. Once attaching the VPN, we can exploit the environment. And from doing so, they were able to shore up their environment and remote access was secured. Another great use case here, major global bank. In their case, they had a larger team, unlike a lot of customers, but yet they were able to save 50% of their costs by running our purple teaming exercises versus doing it by themselves. Again, they didn't have to code, they didn't have to do QA testing, stuff like that. Latest attacks occur, they get tested right away. But more importantly, they found that one of the challenges that they had was they had an aging ATM infrastructure. And this was Windows, right? So you had ones that were XP and ones that were Windows 7. And they found out that with Windows 7, there were enough first-party and third-party mitigating controls to protect those environments that could change. But with XP, they absolutely proved that there was nothing they could do to make XP safe. And by doing so, they were able to go to the board and to the CEO and get money and change out that aging XP infrastructure. Well, I've really enjoyed talking to you today. I'm Dave Klein. Please come to the Cymulate website to learn more about our company, and I hope this has been helpful for you. Thank you so much.